Welcome to Staffworks Explained. Are you here for the first time? Please consider subscribing to this channel. In this video, we'll be talking about the plan to extend the SGR from the current Nairobi terminus to Nairobi Central Station, where this move could see SGR passengers soon boarding the trains from the Nairobi Central Station. And this is closing the last mile gap in Kenya's rail network. For nearly a decade, passengers traveling on the standard gauge railway SGR have had to begin or terminate their journeys at Nairobi terminus in Syokimau, approximately 20 kilometers from the city center. While the railway transformed long-distance travel between Nairobi and Mombasa, the final leg into the central business district remained disconnected, forcing passengers to rely on road transport or commuter trains to complete their journey. This is now set to change. Kenya Railways has initiated the Nairobi Central Station SGR Link project, a major rail connectivity program that will extend the SGR from Nairobi terminus to the Nairobi Central Station. The project is designed to eliminate the missing link in the Kenya's flagship railway by allowing passengers to access SGR services directly from the heart of the Nairobi. Beyond improving passengers' convenience, the project forms part of the wider Nairobi Railway City program, whose objective is to transform the Nairobi Central Station into an integrated multimodal transport hub where SGR, commuter rail, buses, as well as future bus rapid transit BRT services converge. From a project management perspective, the initiative is less about building an entirely new railway and more about integrating existing transport assets to maximize value from infrastructure that has already been developed. Why the SGR terminated at Nairobi terminus? When the SGR was commissioned in 2017, almost 10 years ago, terminating the line at Syokimau was largely a practical project delivery decision. Constructing an entirely new standard gauge railway through Nairobi's densely developed urban corridor would have significantly increased project complexity, land acquisition requirements such as environmental approvals, utility relocations, as well as construction cost. Instead, the project prioritized delivering the national railway connecting between the two cities, Mombasa and Nairobi, within available financing and implementation timelines. Locating the passenger terminus at Syokimau also provided sufficient land for security facilities, maintenance operations, parking and future expansion, space that would have been difficult to secure within the constrained central business district. The consequence, however, was a classic last mile challenge. Although passengers reached Nairobi by rail, they still needed another mode of transport to reach the final destination. For many travelers, this translated into additional matatu fares, taxi costs, unpredictable traffic congestions, and longer travel times. Kenya Railways introduced commuter shuttle trains between Nairobi Central stations and Syokimau to ease the problem, but the transfer remained an additional step that reduced the seamless travel experience the SGR was intended to provide. What the new project involves: the Nairobi Central Station SGR Link project will construct approximately 15 kilometers of new standard gauge railway connecting Nairobi terminus to Nairobi Central Station, largely following the existing meter gauge railway corridor. The scope extends beyond laying track. According to Kenya Railways procurement documents, the project includes construction of bridges, embankments, drainage systems, signaling and communication infrastructure, the new station facilities, pedestrian bridges, platform canopies, rehabilitation of approximately 4 kilometers of flood-prone meter gauge track, the construction of Likoni Bridge, and construction of new bridge across the Mukuru River. From a project delivery perspective, this is a corridor modernization program rather than a simple rail extension. It combines civil engineering, railway system integration, flood resilience works, and operational upgrades, and one implementation package. This is into one implementation package. The proposed SGR line has been designed from diesel operations with a design speed of about 60 kilometers per hour within the urban corridor, reflecting the operational constraints of running through built-up areas rather than open countryside. What happens to Nairobi terminus now that we have this link? The new connection does not make Nairobi terminus obsolete. Instead, the station becomes an intermediate operational node within the SGR network. It will continue supporting train operations, passengers processing where necessary, rolling stock management, maintenance activities, and parking facilities. The extension simply shifts the primary passenger gateway into the city center while preserving the strategic operational role that Syokimau was designed to perform. This approach protects previous investment rather than replacing it. Cost and implementation timeline. Kenya Railway has not yet publicly disclosed the final contract value because the project is currently in the procurement phase. The corporation has invited bids for design and construction under design and build procurement model, where a single contractor assumes responsibility for both detailed engineering and construction. This approach is commonly adopted to reduce interface risks between designers and contractors while shortening project delivery timelines. Because procurement is still ongoing and official completion date has not yet been announced, the timelines will ultimately depend on contractor appointment, financing arrangements, statutory approvals, as well as construction sequencing. What are the benefits expected from this project? The immediate benefit is eliminating the last mile transfer that has affected SGR passengers since 2017. Passengers traveling between Nairobi and Mombasa will be able to board and disembark closer to commercial centers, government offices, hotels, and public transport connections. Operationally, the project is expected to improve passenger experience, reduce travel time, variability associated with road congestion, and strengthen integration between long-distance rail and Nairobi commuter rail services. More importantly, it supports the long objective of developing Nairobi Central Station into an intermodal transport hub. In transport planning, intermodality refers to allowing passengers to transfer efficiently between different transport systems without necessarily delaying or duplicating their journeys. As passenger numbers continue to grow, integrating these networks becomes increasingly important for urban mobility. Government projections indicate that Nairobi Central Station could eventually handle hundreds of thousands of passengers daily once a railway station is fully implemented. All this is coming as there are reports that Kenya Railways is reporting losses. And why is the SGR performing differently? Let's look at that. The announcement comes at a time when Kenya Railways continues to face significant financial constraint, reporting losses of approximately 28 billion Kenya shillings. It is important, however, to distinguish between financial performance of the SGR business and the financial position of the corporation as a whole. SGR passenger services has generally maintained relatively strong demand, while freight volumes have also improved over time. However, Kenya Railways financial statement reflect far more than operational revenue and expenditure. The corporation carries a substantial depreciation cost arising from the large infrastructure investment, financing obligations associated with railway development, maintenance costs across the wider meter gauge network, as well as expenses of maintaining infrastructure whose commercial returns remain limited. In project finance terms, an asset can perform operationally while the owning institution records accounting losses due to financial structure and life cycle cost. Another challenge is that portions of Kenya Railway network still generate relatively low revenue compared to maintenance requirement. Legacy meter gauge infrastructure requires continued rehabilitation despite modest traffic volumes, while several planned freight and regional connections remain incomplete. Addressing these losses therefore requires more than increasing the numbers. It depends on expanding freight volumes, completing strategic network connections, increasing asset utilization, strengthening transit mode, improving operational efficiency, as well as ensuring investment decisions are aligned with the long-term demand forecast rather than isolated projects. So let's talk about other rail projects that are planned for Nairobi. The Nairobi Central Station link forms only one component of the broader railway modernization program. Among the projects receiving budgetary support, we have the Riruta Lenana Ngong Railway Line, continued modernization as well as expansion of Nairobi commuter services, improving under the Kenya Urban Mobility Improvement Project, as well as further development of the Nairobi Railway City Program. The national budget also allocates resources towards commuter rail upgrades, new rolling stock, station improvement, as well as railway infrastructure rehabilitation. The Railway City Program extends well beyond the station itself. It proposes the development of the surrounding precinct into transport-oriented urban district, combining modern railway infrastructure, commercial development, pedestrian spaces, as well as improved integration with BRT corridors and commuter rail. Most of these projects remain at different stages of implementation, with some under procurement, others receiving budget allocation, and several progressing through the phased construction depending on the funding availability. Now let's make a conclusion. The extension of the SGR to Nairobi Central Station addresses a gap that has existed since the railway began operations in 2017. Rather than creating an entirely new transport system, the project focuses on improving connectivity between infrastructure that already exists, enabling railways to function as a more complete network. Its success, however, should not be measured solely by the construction of the 15 kilometers of track. More significant indicator would be whether it delivers genuine network integration, increases rail patronage, improves operational efficiency, and supports the wider transformation of Nairobi into a city where public transport functions as a connected system rather than isolated projects. If delivered within the scope, budget, and schedule, the Nairobi Central SGR Link project will represent an important milestone, not because it extends the railway, but because it finally connects to the city it was always intended to serve. So thank you for reaching this far. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can watch other videos that you have made on this type of a project. You can leave a comment, like, and share. So let's meet in the next one. Thank you.